Hi, I'm Roger. I'm a chef from UKHarvest Food Rescue Charity, and I'm being joined today by our wonderful volunteer, Claudia Golden. Claudia, what are you going to be cooking for us today?
Well, hello and welcome to our kitchen here at Nourish. Today I'm going to be cooking a real family favourite. It's called Melanzane Parmigiana, cooked by my dear mother who came from Italy to England when she was just 21, bringing with her all the family favourites. Melanzane Parmigiana is very much like a vegetarian lasagna. Everybody loves a lasagna. And instead of pasta, you're layering it with an aubergine, which is very easy to cook, and you can keep it a little bit less fat. These are the ingredients that we're going to use. Aubergine, and this is a dish for 4 people, so I've got 5 aubergine. We're going to use mozzarella cheese. Traditionally, I would always use a ball of mozzarella, but nowadays, so freely available from the supermarket is grated mozzarella. And on top, I always put a little bit of Parmesan. We're going to flavour our tomato sauce. The tomato sauce is the key ingredient. Having a lovely, full-bodied, flavoursome tomato sauce just adds to the whole dish. In my tomato sauce, we're going to be using 10 tomatoes, the vital ingredient of oregano. That's the taste that you can always taste when you have a pizza. We're going to be having garlic. If you haven't got fresh garlic, by all means, use garlic granules. They taste just as good. I'm going to be using these Schwartz Italian garlic seasoning, tomato puree, a little bit of olive oil, which we're going to be using on the aubergine and also the base of the tomato sauce, salt and pepper. Those are the ingredients to make this fantastic dish. So the first part of the recipe is to prepare your aubergine. And to do that, we take off the head of the aubergine, take off any of the green, and we slice them so that they can go into the oven. I always put them into a hot oven for about, first of all, about 15 minutes. I then check how they're doing, and then I will turn them over, which I'll show you in a minute. But this is the first stage.
And Claudia, do you ever pre-salt your aubergines?
I don't actually, mainly because my mother never did, and so I always follow her recipe. She didn't, so I don't. When I put them into the oven though, I will probably give it a good grating of salt. But I am a home cook and I follow my mother's recipe.
If it's good enough for Mum,
it's good enough for me. So now all my aubergine have been sliced. You can see there's not a specific thickness, but all round about the same amount. A lot of people will deep fat fry their aubergine. I don't do that, mainly because I'm really conscious about how much oil I use, and to keep it a little fewer calories, I just paint on the olive oil or any oil that you've got. It doesn't have to be olive oil. And if you haven't got a brush, doesn't matter, use your hands. I have actually done that before when I didn't have a brush. So once these are all oiled, I will then put them into my hot oven for around about 20 minutes to start off with. So now I'm just going to do the last grinding of some salt and a lovely generous grinding of pepper. And these are going to go into my hot oven for about 20 minutes. Don't forget to put the timer on, because if they burn, start all over again. So now that the aubergine are cooking in the oven, the most important thing is getting the tomato sauce right. And I'm definitely still using my mother's recipe. In my pan, I have chopped up some garlic to small. It's just been sauteing here. And to the garlic, I'm going to be adding 2 tins of tomato sauce. Yeah, these are chopped tomatoes. It doesn't matter though if you don't have chopped tomatoes. We used to not get chopped tomatoes, in which I just use plum tomatoes, and then I would use a press to press them down once they've been cooking.
Lovely.
So in there we've got garlic, the olive oil and chopped tomatoes. To that I'm going to be adding some tomato puree, just to give it a bit of more bold flavour. I'm also going to be adding some general Italian herbs right there. And I'm going to mix that all in. At this point, I will add my black pepper, but I'm not adding the salt, because that's the important thing about this tomato sauce. It needs to simmer really slowly, and then in about 20 minutes, then add your salt. It's the last thing to go into your tomato sauce.
Good little trick, Claudia.
It is the trick actually.
Yeah.
You just don't add the salt until the end.
So Claudia, this gorgeous tomato sauce, what else could you use it for?
Well, this tomato sauce is one of those recipes that you do it once. I make a double batch and then I use it for loads of different things. So it can just go straight on top of boiled pasta. We're going to be making later on another Italian homemade recipe that we used to have as a child, which is called pizzaiola. And it's basically a piece of chicken, and on top it's going to have oregano and my tomato sauce. So that's one. We can also use it for a base of a bolognese sauce, the base for a pizza. I also do adapt this sauce in order to make it sometimes a bit different, so I can add tuna fish to it. And when I do the tuna fish, I add also capers, anchovies, lots of parsley, and then I use that for pasta. I can also make a puttanesca, which has got chili in it, and so I'd probably put the chili in earlier on, and then I often just keep adding the chili as I go along. If you don't have time, I don't want you to be put off by having to make a tomato sauce from scratch. You can just go and buy a jar of tomato sauce, which can then be used for your Melanzane Parmigiana. It can be used also for your pizzaiola. Don't be put off. Buy the jar, and then at least half of it is already done for you.
Lovely.
So now I'm going to be slicing my mozzarella, ready for when we're going to be layering up our aubergines. You don't have to use mozzarella balls. You can also use grated mozzarella. It really is dependent what's available to you and how much time you've got available. So the sauce consistency should be looking a little bit like this after about 20 minutes. Keep stirring so it doesn't stick to the bottom. And this is the point that we're going to give it a really good grinding of salt. Don't have to grind, just use any old salt really. And then another little stir. There we go. And then we'll just leave that just to settle while we see how our aubergine are doing. I have a feeling they might be ready actually. Oh yes.
Wow, looking lovely.
There we go. They're lightly coloured and they are cooked through. Sometimes, if I have a lot of aubergine to cook, you might need to sort of turn them, put one in the lower rack and swap them over. This one's not quite ready because you'll see that isn't really brown. So I'll just give that one a few more minutes. Our sauce is ready, the aubergine's ready, our mozzarella's cut, and now we're going to put it all together.
So Claudia, all your ingredients are looking amazing now. So what's the next stage?
The next stage is the layering up. We start with a little bit at the bottom of your dish. Any sort of Pyrex dish, casserole dish is perfect. And then we literally start making a layer, just like the way you would do a lasagna.
That looks nice and easy, yeah.
Super easy, and it doesn't have to be super fussy either. So, tomatoes, aubergine, another little splash of tomatoes going on top. That's why you need quite a bit of the tomato sauce, and it's so delicious. When we serve this at home, we'll have it with a lovely crusty bread, and that's really yummy when you then can sort of take all the tomato sauce that's been oozing out from it. Now I've got that, the next ingredient that you'll always, if you smell it, you smell it and you think pizza. It's the oregano. And I give a nice generous splash of that. And then on top of that, make sure your hands are clean. I'll put my mozzarella. As I said earlier, I'm using fresh mozzarella, but you can just as easily use grated mozzarella. And then we're back again with our aubergine and layering it on.
So Claudia, tell us about being a volunteer with UKHarvest. I mean, you've been helping me out in the cafe here.
I've had so much fun helping out in the cafe. And the incredible coincidence, my first day working at UKHarvest, what did I walk in and what were you making? Melanzane Parmigiana. So I knew I'd come home and this was the right place. I just
had it in Italy, so I was desperate to sort of try it myself.
Oh, yeah. Really? And it was so lovely just to walk in and I said, what are you cooking, Roger? Melanzane Parmigiana.
Fantastic.
It really was. So here it is. Everything's been layered upon layer upon layer. And the final touch, I like to add a little bit of Parmesan cheese. That just gives it a little bit more flavour.
Absolutely. Love a bit of Parmesan.
Exactly. That is now ready to go in the oven, 180 degrees, for about 35-40 minutes. Often I'll make it the day before I actually want to eat it, and then I'll just reheat it. So I'll put this in now. Set your timer. And in fact, I've got one ready to come out of the oven right now.
Oh, look at that. That looks superb.
And now we can taste it. I'll always serve that at home with a bit of crusty bread and maybe a green salad, dependent on how much time I've got.
Okay, well, let's put some on a plate and try some. Great, thank you, Claudia.
I hope you enjoy that.
I can't wait.
It's a really lovely dish to have as a family. Easy, not very expensive. Aubergines are in season at the moment.
Fantastic.
Good, I hope you enjoy it.
Let's give it a try. Absolutely gorgeous.
Good, I'm pleased
Really
you
nice,
enjoy it.
really nice.
I hope you'll make it at home. The recipe is on the UKHarvest website.
Absolutely, that'll be there very shortly. And Claudia, really big thanks for coming in today and teaching us something really interesting about Italian cuisine.
It's been a real pleasure to come back to Nourish Cafe.
Fantastic, thank you, Claudia.
Thank you.